and it's another weekend of nonstop betting action here in the bullpen being the basement, where currently we're watching some German Bundesliga soccer. We are watching some English Premier Soccer, and we got college football on the horizon. You got baseball playoff action, but you're here and I'm here to talk about the NFL Week 5 betting action heading into Sunday and Monday. We got you covered to cover the whole card, looking at the point spreads, looking at the over-unders. We got a few player props for you to consider, and we're going to look back on the Thursday nighter that was, and also touch base on some NFL news and some other takes that I may have at the top of my head, and that's just the way it's going to be. So welcome to the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. This is your sports betting podcast. I usually kick it off by saying this is the Square podcast. And now thinking about it more and more about, should I call this podcast a Square podcast? Well, the definition of a square bettor is it's a slang term used to describe a casual, inexperienced bettor, basically the opposite of a sharp. And if you look at a sharp definition, which is a sharp bettor, experienced professional or highly skilled sports bettor who consistently makes data-driven, value-based bets, not emotional or fan-based. Well, when I reflect on what I do, reflect on who I am over the years and who I am today when it comes to the world of sports betting, I feel like there's a mixture in there. I can't 100% put myself in the square category. I have to think outside the box. Get it? Square bettor, outside the box. Okay, that's a little bit of sports betting humor. I have a lot of traits that are square, right? Emotional, inexperienced. I got experience. Some of it not great. Some of it not the best, but I got experience. And I'm not a casual bettor. I'm a consistent bettor. And from the sharp perspective, I try to use data-driven decisions and fact-based, value-based bets, and try to stay away from emotional. But I still have that weakness a lot of you have as well, that emotion drives some of your betting action. So I'm kind of caught in the middle here. I'm more of the square side, I guess. Not completely in the square. If you think outside the box, again, another joke. Am I a squarp? A square slash sharp? Or am I a schwer? Where it's, kind of the same thing, but just a different name used. So I'm either a squarp or a schwer. You decide based on listening to the podcast. I encourage you. In fact, I demand you go to our X page, and that is X page. Is that really the term? Follow us on X at Overrated EXPER2. That's Overrated EXPER2. You don't have to remember. You can click in the description of the podcast. Follow us. Let us know you're following, and give a shout out to the podcast. So let me take my sip of coffee because I'm getting a little hoarse here. And here we go. So NFL Week 5. Thursday nighter. If you joined us earlier in the week, we had the Thursday Night Bets podcast. And how did we do? Well, it was a mixed bag, you could say the least. I can tell you nobody was on the 49ers heading into week 5 in the NFL season. They were ridiculously shorthanded at the receiver side of things. Brock Purdy on the bench, Mac Jones starting. The Rams coming off a big win over the Colts at home previous week. And the Colts are red hot. And you look at the Rams as a contender, a potential threat to the Eagles, a potential threat to the Lions. So coming into this game, there's a 7.5 point spread. And the 49ers outright won. I got to give kudos. I got to give a standing ovation to Kyle Shanahan, Mac Jones, Christian McCaffrey, the receivers that were left over like Bourne and others, and the San Fran D. Absolute great performance. It's hard not to respect the effort, the game plan coming into this matchup to not just keep it close, but dominate, for the most part, possession of the ball, especially early on. Like the 49ers controlled. Mac Jones kept feeding Christian McCaffrey, What are you going to do? That's the smartest thing you can do. You hand the ball to Christian McCaffrey. You throw it to him out of the backfield. You're expecting some big plays for those guys out in the receiving core that are not your starters, coming up with big plays, big catches, and that's what exactly happened. Mac Jones had a hell of a game, 300-plus yards, and they come away with the win. Some of the outstanding bets we had, where we had Mac Jones over 216.5 passing yards. Yep, no problem there. And Davante Adams, longest reception over 20.5. That hit, that was late. It hit in the fourth quarter, as Davante Adams, I think, had one reception going into the fourth quarter when he started to become a focal point for Matthew Stafford in that passing offense. Puka didn't get the volume that we're accustomed to. He did not crack the 102.5 yards total yardage, passing and receiving, that we thought he would. Of course, this week he doesn't when I put the money on him. And also Davante Adams scoring a touchdown. Thought they would find him in the end zone. Couldn't do it. Didn't get the win there. Our same game parlay was inches away from hitting, and that was the Rams -2.5, under 54.5, and Kyron Williams 50-plus rush yards. Now, keep in mind, we had it. Williams had a late burst where he hit 60 yards, and then as he's about to walk in the end zone, bam, fumble, turnover. Absolutely critical point of the game. 49ers go down, get the ball back, and they from there, the 49ers eventually take a field goal lead, and the decision now is for McVay, 49er territory, 4th and 1, do I go for it or I kick the tying field goal? They decided to go for it, which is not uncommon here in the NFL in 2025. So they don't get it, and now the narrative is going to be, for the next 10 days, is Sean McVay making a poor 4th down decision. I don't think the fact that he went for it on 4th and 1 is the decision. I think it was the fact that it was a running play that was stuffed, and it just didn't look good. However, in his mind, and I can see it, is they've been pounding the ball, in the entire season with Kyron Williams. His O-line, I'm sure he's had big time faith in, was going to get the job done to get a yard. They didn't get it. He's going to hang the blame on himself. They should have been able to get that first down. So the narrative is going to be that Sean McVay fucked up huge. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but they should have been able to get that yard. The narrative for the 49ers is going to be, for sure, is Mac Jones your quarterback? When Brock Purdy's ready to come back, what do you do? Well, what do you do? My prediction will be that the 49ers will let Mac Jones ride until he sucks, and if he sucks. So there will be no rush to pop Brock Purdy into the lineup once healthy. I don't think they'll rush him back. And I think Mac Jones will get a run. I mean, the jury to me is still out. I mean, there's obviously going to be, and I'm going to say the word narrative many, many times about, Mac Jones, if he would have been with the 49ers instead of the Patriots, this is what we would have seen right from the get-go from the start of his career. I don't buy that necessarily. I think he's in his zone now, but it can quickly fade at any point. That's how day-to-day the NFL is, as far as you're the hero or the zero. And the 49ers do have, what I do like about them, what they do have, is they have the decision-making of what they think is going to win them ball games and what's going to get them to the Super Bowl or closer to the Super Bowl. You've seen that when they drafted Trey Lance, gave up a lot of draft picks, moving up to get him. But when it wasn't working out, they made a quick decision to, here's my phone going off during the podcast. Sorry. So quick decision from there to trade Trey Lance and move on from him and give Brock Purdy the job, even though he was the last pick in the draft. So they have the mentality that if they deem that they have to cut, if they have to move on, if they have to make a decision, they're not necessarily looking at the past as far as the contract they signed or the draft capital or trade capital they gave up. They're gonna make the decision based on what he thinks is gonna win. I think they'll stick to Mac Jones for now, but very quickly go to Brock Purdy if needed. So that's how I see it playing out. So that was the Thursday nighter. Very good game. Not bad. Pretty entertaining, surprising, but you got to give kudos to the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan and the game plan and the execution of that game plan by the 11 guys on the offensive side of the field and the 11 guys on the defensive side of the field. Awesome job. So heading into week 5 of the NFL, actually, before I do that, because that's the reason why you're here, I'm going to throw it there. I'm probably going to do a special one-off review of the Dallas Cowboys Netflix series. I'm on to the last episode. And again, if you're in my age group, 25, 26, no, I'm just kidding, in your late 40s, grew up with the Dallas Cowboys, I'm trying to think. I know the Patriots obviously had a big run with Tom Brady, but I don't know if we've had a team with the characters, owner, coaching, controversy, off the field shenanigans, success, a team you wanted to see lose, but just couldn't lose. And when they did, you loved it, and they rebound and win a Super Bowl. And that's the Dallas Cowboys during that era. And then, from that era on, 30 plus years, they can't even reach an NFC championship game. And you watch, this documentary, and you hearing the stories of the Jimmy Johnson transition to Barry Switzer, Jerry Jones's interaction with his players, the big three, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin, and then you sprinkle in Deion Sanders. It's a fascinating look at that era of football in the NFL and the impact that these guys had to the game, especially during that 90s era. It was their era, and then how it came to an end. So I'm going to do it. I'm drawn to this documentary. I think it's great. And more to come on that, but I'll announce it when it drops. Okay? So we have that. And we got now NFL Sunday, Monday action. That's why you're here, right? That's why you are tuning in. That's why you're downloading. And we are going to look at the 9:30 Eastern Standard Time kickoff in London, the Minnesota Vikings, who already played in Ireland, lost against the Pittsburgh Steelers, taking on the Cleveland Browns, who are the home team in this matchup. Minnesota's a 3.5-point favorite. The over-under is 35.5. There is a thought that there will be not completely zero, but limited points scored in this matchup. Part of that being is that you have Minnesota, a ton of injuries on the offensive line. And then you have Dylan Gabriel, rookie quarterback, now going to take over for Joe Flacco. It was inevitable. You know it. I know it. The Flacco was going to be there until things fell off slightly or a lot, which it did. That they were going to start going to Dylan Gabriel, and then eventually Shedeur Sanders most likely will get his try as well. Big controversy, just a story. I mean, social media drives this stuff, and it's not who cares. But Shedeur Sanders, 5th-round pick, of the Cleveland Browns, high-profile player. When asked that Dylan Gabriel is going to get the ball ahead of him, did some sort of mime act, and it looked like he was mocking the decision. A lot of people had a take on this. Here's my thought. Okay? Is the NFL and like every other sport, nobody gives a fuck about what you say. And most of the time gives a shit about what you do off the field and how wild you are. If you are producing, leading to wins, and are deemed irreplaceable for that period of time. That's just the way it is. And especially when you look back at Shedeur Sanders' dad on the Dallas Cowboys documentary, there's twofold here. When you talk to Deion, he can you say he's cocky? Yeah, but do you think anybody who watched Deion Sanders play and knew the impact that Deion Sanders had doesn't think that, holy shit, this guy can be cocky because he's primetime? Holy shit, he went into the 49ers like a hired assassin because the 49ers needed him to finally move past that Dallas Cowboys juggernaut? They did. Guess what? Jerry Jones said, fuck that. I got to go get Dion so I can get back to the Super Bowl because he's prime time and he's a gamer. He's an impact player. He's a difference maker. So, yeah, Shedeur Sanders is getting shit on right now. But tell you what, if he does eventually get that shot and he does start winning ball games and he starts producing, suddenly it's going to be, well, Shedeur Sanders is a charismatic character, but fuck, can he win football games? But what I'll tell you that the opposite flip of the coin is in the NFL is very touchy. If you are not the guy that's producing, you're not the guy that's providing wins and deemed irreplaceable, there is a short window where tolerance is there for anybody on that football team. So if you're a 5th round pick like Shedeur Sanders, you're dancing on thin ice because unless you break through, which you might and you could, and you get that pass, but if you don't, the NFL will not accept somebody who's not producing and drawing attention if you're, the third string quarterback on a football squad. So look for that window to be short, but all to be forgiven and turned into a character that people want, they have no problem with, like they do today, if he comes out and becomes the next starter of the Cleveland Browns and the belief he's going to lead them to the promised land. So that's how the NFL works. It's weird, but he's got a shorter window than most because, he's got to show the success or he'll have a quick NFL career. Fewer and fewer teams, unless he's going to be a starting quarterback, will even think of him as an option to be their starting quarterback if he becomes available. Just a funny situation. We'll see how it plays out. Hopefully it works out for him. So I think the Minnesota Vikings will cover 3.5. Okay, I think that Kevin O'Connell will have this team ready to go. I think they'll outwit and outmatch this Cleveland Brown team. And this game's going to go over 35.5. I just see as a rookie quarterback in there. Will he do a better job than Joe Flacco? Maybe. Will there be a lot of great situations for the Vikings to have good field position? I think so. A lot of punts for the Browns, and I believe that the Minnesota Vikings should easily cover this. All right, we move on to North American soil now. The Houston Texans visit the Baltimore Ravens. The Houston Texans getting a well-needed victory over the pathetic Tennessee Titans last week. Showed a little sign of offense from C.J. Stroud. Head into Baltimore that does not, listen carefully if you're under a rock, that does not have Lamar Jackson starting. Cooper Rush will be the starting quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. And that is obviously a significant factor into this one in your betting decisions. So make sure that you bet accordingly. The Houston Texans going into Baltimore are a 1.5 point favorite, 1.5 favorite, minus 115, and the game will go over 40.5. I do see the Houston Texans pulling out a victory here. I think it's going to be close. I do think it's going to go over 40.5. So, and I think CJ Stroud, my first player prop, will go over 210.5. I think he'll get a little more on point, and I don't think the Ravens defense is going to be at the level we expect, and at least 220 for CJ Stroud. So over 210.5 for CJ Stroud. Interesting matchup. Many in New York will be watching. Many in New Orleans will be watching. I'm not sure how many else will watch. The Giants visit the New Orleans Saints. First time this season the Saints are a favorite. 1.5 points, over 41.5. Now, yes, the Giants got the win last week against the LA Chargers. Upset, screwed me over in my survivor pool. God damn it, right? Jackson Dart, first start, gets the win. However, it wasn't like he came in and threw for 300 yards like Mac Jones did on Thursday night. A lot of it was ball control. A lot of it was the G-Men's D-line really coming up big against that Chargers offensive line, right? And, Jackson Dart did the job when he had to. Scatterboo all around yardage over 80, got us a win on a prop. But a lot of times it was Jackson Dart, taking the ball himself and getting the first downs, doing a good job with his legs, but he wasn't necessarily overwhelming the Chargers with the ball in the air. So New Orleans hung in there with Buffalo, covered the spread. I do believe that they'll, do enough to beat the Giants. This will be a closer ball game. I think at home I'll give the Saints the nod. And this game to go under 41.5. I just see it as sloppy game, 17-13, something like that. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. Going on to Miami, Carolina. Carolina hosting a Tyreek Hill-less Miami Dolphins. Chuba Hubbard for the Carolina Panthers is out. Because this is a betting show, we want to cover all games. It's hard to really understand what we're going to get here in this game. I do see the Miami Dolphins pulling this out. They're just a better, more talented team. They'll find a way to win. They'll cover that 1.5 that they're favorites. The game will go over 44.5, so it'll be a bit sloppy, but not much to say there on that one. Vegas Raiders head into Indy. Indy off their first loss against the Rams. 6.5 point favorites. And, Gentry, running back for the Vegas Raiders, had an explosive game against the Bears and a loss. But there's still problems with Las Vegas. I just don't think Geno Smith is their guy long term. He's too wild. Too wild. I just don't think he fits into the game plan if the Raiders have a game plan. I don't know if they do or not. But, it's just not working out, I think. I don't think it's going to get better. I think they got to find another option somewhere, some else, some way, somehow. But it's not going to be with Geno Smith. All right? Just putting that out there. All right, now. We're going to take the Colts to cover the 6.5. We're going to take the under 47.5 minus 104. And I'll take Daniel Jones over 227.5 yards, passing minus 114. He's been plus that mark the first 4 games. Why does it change against the Raiders? It doesn't. All right? We move on. Denver Broncos, maybe the game of the day in Philadelphia, taking on the world champion, Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles 4.5 point favorites. Game is a 43.5, which is kind of low, which I think there'll be points in this game, so I like the over on this. And a lot of people are high on the Broncos coming into this. They're a good team. They smoked the Bengals, but the Bengals are absolute dumpster fire trash right now. So let's respect the world champions. Give them a little respect at home. 4.5, why not? Win by 6 points, 7 points. I like the Eagles to cover. There you go. No player props in this one. We do have the Dallas Cowboys visiting the New York Jets. New York Jets winless at 0-4. Dallas Cowboys, 1-2-1 after the 40-40 draw with the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football. So something to note here, the Dallas Cowboys are down 3 starting offensive linemen, potentially Tyler Smith making it 4. He's questionable coming into this ball game. What impact will that have? I still think the Dallas Cowboys get the job done because the Jets absolutely suck. So 1.5 for the Cowboys, I'll take it. I think this game's going to be a bit sloppy and a lot of points scored. Justin Fields will have his whole, oh my God, he looks okay when he loses, scoring 21 points, but they give up 40. It's a false prophet here for the Jets. He's not your guy. All right. So over 47.5. I do like Pickens, George Pickens, who's the number 1 guy while CeeDee Lamb is out. Over 72.5 receiving yards. All right, moving on. Tennessee, Arizona. I don't really give much of a Tennessee an option of winning here. They're 8.5 point dogs to the Arizona Cardinals. Our Cardinals are like a mid-pack kind of NFL team right now. I put the Arizona Cardinals in my remaining survivor pool. I feel very confident they'll get the victory. Will they cover the 8.5? I'm going to say yes because the absolute trash that the Tennessee Titans are at the moment. Poor coaching. Rookie quarterback. I don't think he's going to get developed in year 1 as he should. Probably have a coaching change there and get Cam Ward to the level we think he'll get. The game will go over 41.5. I think Tennessee will at least put up 10 points. So let's see what happens with that one. But we're going to be cheering a Cardinal victory with that. Oh, my Why does my video start recording? Shit. Why does my video stop fucking recording? I'm live again. Like, what is going on?